Hello and welcome here, everyone. We're excited to be underway with some more NECC action. Of course, the best day of the week, not calling out any other game. No, I'm joking. We are here with League of Legends. We are excited to get into this Wednesday, and we are going to be bringing you two amazing series today. To start things off will, of course, be myself and the best minion to ever wander off the rift. It is Random Minion Caster and Orbital on the mic to start things off with a Legends Division game. Very excited to be here. RMC, how you feeling?
Hyped. As Orbital, we've got a double-hitter Legends Division match tonight, and we're starting with the B Division. University of Toronto, Mississauga up against Fisher Falcons. Two teams, Orbital, tied in the standings at second place, 4 wins and 2 losses apiece.
And one of the big names, of course, Fisher Falcons, we'll get to talk to you about a little bit later. But, of course, UTM, we're going to take a look at their roster to give us a little bit of an idea of who we're going to see here on the Rift today. Let's go ahead and take a look. It is Luno in the top lane, a Lovers in the jungle, Mint V inside of the mid lane, and then Aito, a little something around them in the bot lane, and then a B at support.
Yeah, and some names you might recognize here. A B having recently played in the NACL qualifiers on a team that made it through the Swiss stages and did pretty decently in the group stages as well back in the Spring 1 OQs. Aito actually role swapping into the AD carry role as well, formerly a mid laner. He too has had some experience. I believe he was often the 6th man on some of those NACL qualifier rosters, and Luno, Lover Suicide, and Mint V as well. Mint V, a returning player from this roster. Luno and Lover Suicide, I believe, are a bit newer to this team. Actually, no. Luno has played before because they definitely played last year. Sorry, correction. Lover Suicide, though, is new to this team and is somebody that the coaches have been working a lot with recently.
Yeah, hey, listen, it's a good sign whenever you get a couple role swaps and you're still seen as a pretty nice light on top of that team. So for UTM, they're sitting here 4-2. Like we said, we're getting into the latter stages, pretty much the last few rounds of this regular season. So we really need to see them step up. They got a tough opponent. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Fisher Falcons side as well. This is another roster and squad that a lot of people already know about, but in case you do not remember them, it is going to be Topo in the top lane, Radar in the jungle, Relic in the mid lane, Dragonmin Kim in the ADC role, and Sword Blue at support.
And as much as we've seen this team before, Orbital, and all the names ought to be familiar to anybody who does follow the NECC or the Collegiate League of Legends scene in general, what's always interesting about Fisher is the question of who's showing up where. Because Radar, I believe, used to be their mid laner. Raulik used to play in the bot lane, either support or AD carry, especially with that Seraphine in that role. And Dragonmin Kim used to play jungle for Fisher. And obviously, as you can see, it's Radar in the jungle now, Raulik in the mid lane, DMK in the bot lane. So a lot of role swaps coming through. I'm curious to see how this one works out. So far, the bot lane of DMK and Sword Blue have been the scariest part of this roster, usually walking out of lane with a significant kill advantage.
It's one to watch for, and the surprising fact about it is, again, as we said, UTM very excited to come in here and face off. I mean, they got role swap versus mainstay kind of situations here. Of course, DMK has been, around the block on roles. It doesn't change the fact, like you said, Fisher Falcons, they are well practiced in this spot. So the fact that this bot lane is one that we really, really want to hone in, especially with some of the changes to some of the ADCs or spellcasting ADCs in general, it'll be a very interesting fight over who comes out with what and how it's going to play out in this series.
Yeah, especially when it comes to sort of who these guys are and how they like to play. We'll start Fisher Falcons because we're already talking about them. DMK, formerly a jungler, and I remember the first time I saw him on Fisher, or I think it was BSC at the time. He used to play a lot of Lee Sin, very mechanical style champion, and he's brought those mechanics down with him into the bot lane back when he was playing support for Fisher, as well as now that he's playing AD carry. So a lot of times that's why he's walking out with lane advantages, is because between him and Sword Blue, they are just out-handsing their lane opponents. But for UTM on the other side, Aito, another very mechanical player, and even more, Aito likes aggressive lane dominant champions, things like Draven, like Callista, like Samira or Lucian. So with his mechanics as well and with his preference for aggression, Orbital, I can't help but think the focus, at least for the early game, is going to be on this bot side of the map.
Yeah, not just that. I mean, on the supports, because when you have aggression in early game, you gotta look at that support role as well. A B having some pretty strong champion pools there, but right now, taking a look, we are getting into draft UTM, the Phoenix squad. on that blue side. An immediate Smolder ban here, which again does signal exactly what they want to kind of go for. It falls in line with what you were talking about, RMC, playing a little bit more early game focused centric champions. Don't want to get the Smolder over still, though. You don't want to hit that late game and have the Dragon breathing down the back of your neck. Graves, on the other side, though, sent Lover's way.
Yeah, and one thing to note with that Smolder pick as well is it's not just DMK who plays it. Rollick plays it as well in the mid lane. So it's been a while since we've seen the Smolder flex, but it is still well and truly alive. I believe we are still prior to the patch where Smolder gets kneecapped. So right now, Smolder still very, very strong, and teams will want to try and maximize their use of it before it gets banned out. The Graves ban from Fisher is interesting though, Orbital, because we talked about Idol being an aggressive bot laner, how good a B has been in that sort of tier 2, tier 3 space for League of Legends outside of Collegiate. But the Graves ban against the Versuicide, a player who Coach Mad and their former jungler Bodmon has been working with a lot. This guy can carry a game. He's really good with his carry picks, and he's got really good map awareness and reads. So he's great at snowballing his lanes, even if his lanes don't have the best matchups.
And to take that away means that UTM Phoenix lose a lot of that kind of comeback potential, right? Or that ability to, as you said, snowball. A couple other champions also taken off the field. UTM continuing on with some of these bot lane pinches. The Karma, a Flex being banned away. The Senna as well targeted towards that bottom lane. And then on the flip side, Fisher Falcons taking away a little bit of a unique pick. Rel has, of course, been in the upper echelons of support roles, I think around A to S tier. I think leaning more towards A. But a B has a special background with that champion.
Yeah, be really performing incredibly well on that champion to the point where it often gets banned against him. Of course, Abi still has other engage options should he want, things like the Tahm Kench, or if he wants to go a bit more damage oriented, the Bard. But his Rel is by far and away his most well-known champion. The Seraphine being removed. I was actually wondering about this, Orbital, because Mint V for UTM has a very eclectic champion pool. A lot of things, control mages like Seraphine, like Malzahar, other picks along that vein. Hui as well potentially coming in. We'll have to see what Mint V ends up with, but it won't be the Seraphine for now.
Nope. And in that same vein, let's go ahead, lock in our first support. It is that Nautilus laning into a very aggressive kind of situation here. A B will most likely take that one and be very happy about it. In that same side, Fisher Falcons have a little bit of thinking to do. Ido wants to go aggressive. We want to go aggressive with the spot lane. Phoenix say, okay, how do we deal with that one? Not only that, the Nautilus does bring its own kind of challenges, I would say. I like to always say, if you pick just the wrong champion, even a mobile ADC can get locked under the hook and anchor. It's a very dangerous scenario. So what do you want to go with? Dragon Min Kim has their pick of the litter. Ooh. Of course, you could just bring out the big shield, and it is going to be a Braum followed quickly by the Wukong.
Okay, I was actually wondering for a second what you want to pick into the Nautilus here. Ashe is up and available, and Ashe support has been very high priority in sort of tier 1, tier 2 play across the world. But the Braum, to me, I like a lot because it is a hard answer to the Nautilus. Sure, as you mentioned, Orbital, you can try and lock down a lot of people, but Braum can lock you down. And more importantly, Braum is great at soaking those initial engages. Wukong, to me, kind of fills a similar niche. Cyclone stops a lot of engages coming through. So Fisher Falcon already with a great front line, great engage options for the team. You can pick almost anything around these two picks.
This is going to be interesting. Again, Phoenix, we're maybe hoping for a little bit more information, right? Hey, the engage is there from the Wukong. The safety is there from the Braum. We would have liked to see like an ADC pick or something, but Fisher Falcon's obviously not going to give that one over. If they want to lean into it, though, of course, a great way to kind of outmaneuver, also get into the mix if you so wish, it is going to be the Zeri. Kind of surprising to me. There's a lot of other options on the line, but you're trying not to give too much away. The Lilia locked in, and then the immediate Frost combination dropped into the bot lane. Fisher Falcon saying, let's keep the ice going.
Okay, so the Zeri, less surprising. I think it has been creeping up a little bit, Orbital, in terms of who likes to play it. It's a very self-sufficient champion. You've got a lot of escapes, especially when you look at the Wukong on the other side. You want to be able to dodge away. But the Lilia, that caught me off guard. We were talking about Liver Suicide being a really good carry player. Yeah, Lilia is that carry champion. Not one we've seen too much in the current meta, but the scaling on it's really strong. And UTM as a whole right now with the Zeri, with the Lilia, their late game is looking really, really scary. Fisher opting for the Ashe, to me, is also a pick that can slow people down and is really good against the likes of Lilia, who wants to run at you, who enjoys having the additional movement speed from her passive and her Q. we are into the second ban phase. Of course, Aatrox being taken off the table, one of the premier top laners right now, along with the likes of Cassante and Renekton, which also gets banned.
Ooh.
And UTM has to ban Poppy, because that's top on the other side. One of the best Poppy players in NA.
Yep, can't let it go through. Surprising it even made this far, but of course, right now I feel like there are some champions that may be able to rival it in static stats here. But again, if top was piloted again, he might be a little bit scared. Fisher Falcons, of course, saying, okay, you want to throw a Poppy ban, let's keep up the bans on the top side. Luno has been known for that. Renekton has been able to use it to early game aggression. You don't really want to give it over. So at this point, Fisher are pining for a mid to late game top lane kind of sustained battle is what they're hoping to go for. Dragonman Kim, of course, with that Ashe is like, I kind of like that. I like to be able to farm up and become a better ADC and not die in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, and it's rare that we actually see the Ashe AD carries, but she can do a ton of damage really if she's left unchecked. And with that front line of Braum and Wukong, that's very likely to happen. And having Topo on your team as well. Topo, yeah, I was going to say, usually to me that means like, okay, Poppy, Cho'Gath, and Ornn. Those are the picks I think of when I think of Topo. He can, of course, play things like the Renekton. He's got a pocket Alawi as well, that I recall. He can play Rumble. He could play, the more meta things. But really, he's always looked best on this. And this means for Fisher as well, I need to see good magic damage from the mid lane. They really do need that to round out their composition. They have very physical damage space right now.
Mm-hmm. Need to start diversifying that portfolio of damage. And I mean, there are some other champions that have cropped up, if you want to go for a little bit more sustained damage, that can happen. Of course, right now, Phoenix is looking for a chance of their own, still waiting to draft, I think, a top or a mid. And at this point, you got to match. There's not much else you can do. So, I mean, they could always look for a little bit of a teaser, right? And there...
Okay.
There it is, RMC. There it is.
Okay, I mean, we did mention that. Oh, I like the Gnar pick up there for Luno, but let's talk on Min V's Malzahar here, because we did mention Min V has a very eclectic champion pool, things like Seraphine, like Malzahar, like Hui, which would be more meta to come through. But if you're blinding, Hui can definitely be punished. So I think the Malzahar is actually a very safe mid lane, which doesn't really have a lot of hard counter matchups. The way you kind of deal with the Malzahar is just try and match wave push and stop the Voidlings from killing your minions, and that's kind of it. Other than that, Malzahar is a press tower champion, but into the composition Fisher have, it's going to be very difficult for Mint V to actually get the full channel of the Never to Grasp on any critical target, especially if Raul ends up going with a super long range artillery style champion.
Mm-hmm. And that is just something that Fisher are also taking into account, right? Like, hey, the Malzahar can stop a lot of the immobile champions as well, but, if the team can back it up, maybe we can keep going, and it is going to be that Talia, a very spell-spammy champion, going to make sure that shield doesn't stay up. Not only that, you can stop a lot of what Luno as well as that Nautilus kind of want to do. Might not stop Lovers as much. The speed up is not considered a dash, of course. So we'll see how that works out. But right now, Arala going with a little bit more team-oriented, mid to late game. Very solid roam potential alongside the likes of that jungle Wukong.
Yeah, and we've seen Talia rise on priority, her utility as well, the Weaver's Wall. Sure, the Unraveled Earth will not stop Lilia from running through with her movement speed, but Weaver's Wall certainly will, because Lilia doesn't actually have any dashes to get over that. And I do like it. We needed some damage to come through from the side of Fisher Falcons, especially magic damage. The Talia does round that out. It gives you the ability to kind of just assist your jungler and your bot lane. So I expect to see a lot of focus still into this bot lane from Fisher. But UTM Orbital, that Malzahar threw me for a bit of a loop. But other than that, if we kind of ignore that pick a little bit, because Malzahar is not the best team fighter, you've got a Gnar, a Nautilus, a Lilia, and a Zeri. You've got two really strong scaling threats in that Lilia and Zeri. And Mega Gnar plus Nautilus is going to be a huge front line. So I really like what UTM have drafted. I do think they've got a bit more margin for error when it comes to the late game. The difficulty, of course, as always, Orbital, is can you get to the late game against Fisher, and especially against their bot lane of TMK and Sword Blue?
I think that's going to be our main eyes on the prize situation. I would like to throw a little bit of a cookie over in towards that mid lane, talking about Mint V. I mean, that looking at the rest of the comp, and like you said, you have a lot of carry potential with that Lilia, with that Gnar on the top side. Good wombo combo, I would say. I will say I actually like it in the sense that of all the champions that you have on the field, it's a very nice point and click, right? Without QSS in there and everything, you can at least initiate a fight with one of the, I want to say, longest last, or not longest lasting, I would say one of the last point and click CC abilities in the game. Like, this is just, hey, I'm gonna step up, I'm gonna ult someone, I don't care if I live. It's literally to draw you in. Hey, maybe that's what they're looking for. At the same time though, I do agree this bot lane is one to watch for. The Ashe Braum is one that's very impressive. Not only that, you got almost full counterpick. The Zeri, I have not seen that much as of late, and I gotta ask you, RMC, if this were a neutral 2v2, no jungle presence or anything, which way are you leaning here? I mean, even with nameplates off, we got to go with that, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it comes down to me more about the supports than the actual AD carries, because Zeri can chase people down. She's quite effective at that, and she can be quite safe. But the problem is Zeri wants to play backwards a lot of times. Nautilus wants to play forward. And with the Braum pickup that Fisher immediately slammed R1 the moment they saw that Nautilus, I just think Braum answers everything Nautilus wants to do. So they already have the advantage that way. Ashe as well. Zeri is slippery because of her movement speed when she ults and her ability to get over really long walls with that wall dash. Neither of that really matters against the Ashe, because one, you can slow her down and your movement speed you gain with the ult kind of gets cancelled out in another fight that way. And if you dash over a wall, Enchanted Crystal Arrow can still follow you. Not to mention, in the bot lane orbital, where are the walls? The walls are great when you're playing defensively and you're getting ganked and you just hop over the wall. If you are just trading in the middle of the lane 2v2, there aren't a lot of walls for you to use. And for you to actually get there, you've got to run through that slow Ashe has down on you. So I think the Braum Ashe, to me at least, definitely favored in 2v2. And I think it's also better set up in a way for those junglers to get in there.
Yeah, I mean, you step up midway, and all of a sudden you got a Glacial Fissure to deal with. You got the Crystal Arrow to deal with if it hits that level 6 situation. Wukong, with the Cyclone, you're like, oh man, you can only knock up for a little bit. Now you're gonna be stuck on ice. Like, that is quite literally what's gonna happen. Might as well leave the Antarctic at that point. Looking on the other side though, Lovers is gonna be in that same situation, trying to get carries elsewhere, maybe, of course. But do you want to look into that bot lane? It is a Zeri, right? If you get the Zeri scaling, maybe you get that big win. Does Lovers actually put a lot of emphasis into that bottom lane as well, or do you kind of from draft say, okay, look, we didn't exactly expect maybe that Braum Ashe, or maybe we did. Do you allocate resources down to that bottom lane?
That's actually a really good question, Obo, and one that I actually am not sure, because on one hand you want to stabilize that lane, but I think if Aito and Abi can survive on their own with that sort of Nautilus Zeri combo, just play a little bit safe, lose some farm if you have to. I'd much rather see Liver Suicide actually gank top and mid. Top, because Gnar into Ornn is technically a winning lane, right? Ranged into melee matchup, and you do have the ability to have CC and hard commit when you go Mega Gnar. And mid lane is actually perfect setup. Now, if you gank mid, if you're ganking mid V on the Malzahar, you're not doing that to get the Malzahar ahead as much as you are Minfi setting up for Liver Suicide to pick up the kill and scale on that Lilia. So because of that, I think I'd much rather see Minfi actually gank or get ganked by Liver Suicide in that mid lane. Just kind of rotate through mid. Once you're post 6, just flash out and set up. The CC chain can be so incredibly long from the two of them.
I mean, that's why you pick Malzahar in most cases. I mean, I played Malzahar in the past. I'm sure many people have tried it, and there was a time where I think Malzahar was kind of that one of those rare go-to, just like, hey, we don't really want to play the game. It's just like, hey, slap something in the mid, you got to carry jungler, and you're good to go. Of course, that is, again, in my own experience there. The idea, though, that you are actively going to be contributing to that, I love the fact that you pointed out, hey, let's go ahead, try and get some kills. Like, this is the same with the Nocturne, right? If that Malzahar off level 6 is not using that Nether Scraps, I'm actually going to be really sad, right? I want to see that used for the initial cooldown. I want to see those dubs come through, because UTM are looking to raise the stakes and put themselves in better position here in the Legends Divisions. They want to go 5-2, and they want to start off game number 1 with a win. Same with Fisher Falcons, though. They got a composition that they are tried and true. Topo on that Ornn will be very fun to watch mid to late. Maybe not so much early unless the Assassin decides to come out inside of the Bruiser. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that Ornn, especially with the Unsealed Spellbook.
Yeah, after all, Ornn can be anything you can imagine, Orbital. He just needs a little bit of time, and he can do it all. We are seeing Fisher kind of looking to maybe cheese a little bit here, especially since ZMK was a former jungler. I can see the angle, or he can see the angles at any rate, but be able to just hop away as Nautilus, nice and safe, only a ward dropped.
And I think, again, this still leans into what we were talking about, right? For Fisher Falcons, they should also be identifying the fact that, hey, a big, big carry part is Lovers being able to carry on this Lilia, getting a really nice start as well. We got to keep track, right? You got to keep track of this situation. You got to be able to identify what goes down, and I can agree with that. Go ahead, get a ward down. There are no aggressive wards on the side for UTM because they are the ones invaded, so it'll just be a slow start for this. Lilia, Radar, of course, on the opposite side of the map, looking to pat down, maybe even get a cheeky invade if they so wish. Ido, though, on this bot side, this is... We talked about it, RMC, and it's starting already 50% at 1 minute 40. Dang.
Yeah, and you can tell Sword Blue and DMK, they are very familiar with this. They definitely want to pressure in and punish as much as possible. They know that they're the stronger sort of matchup at that level 1, and that's likely to continue for the first couple of levels as well. We also do need to highlight, yes, Zeri's name is showing as Dan Xiaogu. That is Aito, and I'm just going to call him Aito, because that name is a mouthful.
We've tried this before. There are some things I think we talk about, like too many consonants or something like that. Also, I'm just bad at language in general, so I like 2 syllables. 2 syllables is very, very nice for us. For any future aspiring pro players, at 2 syllables or 3, that's it. Don't go more than that. We beg of you.
I will give one exception. There is a player who used to go under the name Anime Girl. 4 syllables, but I'll take that.
That too, yeah. That was a good one. Right now, though, Hawkshot does go out. Already DMK setting the stage for we are identifying exactly where everyone is so we can continue this pressure. Take a look at that difference, this under the tower coverage. I want to see this. We are going to watch this the entire time. I want to see if Ido can get every piece here. This is going to be, okay, that's all the front side. That's all the front side. How many are you going to miss? 1? You missed 3. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Now 4. 5 casters! Oh, that feels bad, but that's the power of DMK and Sword Blue right there.
It is, and that's the disgusting thing about Ashe as a champion as well. The fact that you can see there DMK using the volley to just poke you out. You're not safe under turret. At best, a B has to eat the poke for you, stand up there, and you're always worried, of course, for getting tagged by that Winter's Bite, the Frostbite coming through from the Braum as well. We did get to see a little bit of a shot in the mid lane earlier between Minvi and Rowlick, and you can see that what's happening in the bot lane is kind of being replicated in the mid lane as well, where Rowlick is getting shoved, is getting to kind of freeze the lane as and how he likes, and I'm waiting for Liver Suicide to come and help out in one of these lanes, break the freeze, and what the hell just happened?
Hey, you remember when we talked about the whole, it's pretty aggressive, the pressure's there. Yeah, that changes when your Nautilus gets a hook, has Ignite, and Sword Blue uses none of the summoner spells. Like, that feels bad.
I'm still trying to figure out what happened. We look down there, DMK and Sword Blue are just pressuring up. It has to be a hook under turret. Like, I can't imagine another situation where Sword Blue goes from 80 to 0 that quickly.
Oh, the potions are still up, too. Like, nothing was used by Sword Blue. It was just kind of the commitment to death there.
Oh, man. Okay, that... highly unfortunate for this Fisher bot lane. We'll have to see if it actually changes anything for them. Aito does come back with extra items in pocket already, so maybe that'll give them enough to poke out. Personally, I think the Ashe is still strong enough at this point in the game, just off base stats and abilities, that I expect to see Fisher still have full control of bot lane.
Honestly, First Blood is great and everything. We still needed to actually crest over, right? There are situations, I love the fact that you pointed out, you got to be a little bit more behind it, and especially when the buy comes through, you got a longsword and a dagger. It feels good. It feels good. Right now, though, it is going to be a dragon and grubs time. Kevin's are alive on the board, same with the Cloud Dragon, and that's going to be another hook. Okay, so a little bit of replication and honestly decent amount of damage from a B and Ido right there. So maybe we can see what happens, this damage output between the Zeri and the Nautilus.
Yeah, keep in mind that's partially because of the level difference. Sword Blue is a level down right now, and the early stats matter so incredibly much in these matchups. So Fisher Falcons having to step off a little bit and play a bit safer. Liver Suicide does spot Radar on these grubs.
Oh, and that's actually really, really good. Remember, Lover's coming here in the secondary now means it's a call down from the rest, but that's going to be a jump out. Very nice dodge from the Call of the Forge God, and of course, you got the job done, right? Lovers was able to get one of the grubs. You now make that second grub take a little bit more difficult, and Radar is going to have to flash out over the pit wall. I mean, it's pretty standard right there, but Lovers getting a nice little jump there. Not going to be the dragon, but enough to put Radar a little bit under pressure.
Yeah, and I think that is something that UTM will be happy for, and Fisher have to pay attention to. The fact that Lilia will continue to scale up, and if Liver Suicide can beat out Radar now, granted, Radar did take a lot of damage from Void Grubs prior to that fight, but it doesn't get better for Radar in these 1v1s, and if anything, Radar needs to start looking at ganks to sit, especially when he hits 6, like you were talking about those Cyclones. I know you're talking more about Malzahar and Talia Ultimates, but I have the same feeling about these big wombo combo ultimates like the Cyclone.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to see Radar really leverage that in skirmishes.
I mean, I can agree with that. And that's why we are very excited to see that bot side possibly pop off, right? We want to see those ults kick up, but we want to see Radar also go to the lane that we discussed previously. DMK and Sword Blue, they want to get this lane more under their control. The fact that a death went down feels kind of bad. You can see on their map right now, they are kind of advancing forward. I think Ralik wanted to take a look, but the Weaver's Wall is not up. So instead, it is going to be a draw in. Radar still a ways off, so Sword Blue going to take it up with that shield, and it looks like they might have gotten it. Ghost comes out here as Ido realizes things are in a damaging spot. B tries to get under the tower, but you are too far gone, and it is going to be death. Now Ido going to work their way in with Lovers, try and get in front. Flash out by DMK. And with that flash, it looks like they're calling it off here. DMK and Sword Blue trying to get some more stuns down. Radar about to get some damage, but only a level 5, level 6 hit by Lovers, but it's a little bit too little too late as a B is the only one to fall.
It's funny too, because we kept calling for bot lane pressure, Orbital, and it didn't happen. The junglers are now starting to hit level 6, Liver Suicide already there. They finally get down there, and they are hard committing to it. You can see how much investment. They didn't want to walk away. They wanted to actually get kills. And now, again, Liver Suicide just hit 6. Radar about to follow likewise. This Dragon could be explosive if the teams want to hard commit for it. It's only a Cloud, so if they go for it, it's not for the Dragon. It's for the hands check.
Yep. I 100% agree with that. I don't think anyone's ever sat at a Cloud Dragon and been like, we really like this solo dragon. Like, I don't think anyone's actually sat there, you know, aside from some of my friends. I keep repeating that, and I feel bad, but, you know, my friends have weird thoughts about the game. Either way, this Cloud is going to be, I do agree, it'll be a hands check of options, and one of the crazy things is I'm not sitting here saying DMK and Sword Blue are going to win outright. Right? It does feel like that hand check is going to extend to the rest of the laners that do advance in, because Sword Blue getting caught once or twice. Granted, level 6 is going to be vastly different, but we are seeing AB and Ido at least kind of go above our expectations, especially with how this lane could go. Only about 6 CS down on this Zeri. I think that's pretty good for right now.
Fair enough. I'd also like to issue a public apology and correction. Our producer, Rare Adam, has pointed out that single Cloud Drake is one of the best Drakes. After all, it means you don't get Cloud Cell. That is
That is amazing. That is actually amazing. I forgot about that. Alright, well, you know what? Clouds, don't worry, because multi-proc Frostbite is going to be there, but look at the AoE damage. Zeri going in, and Ido said, yo, what did the analysts say? Ain't no way. That's a double kill for Ido in the bot lane.
Okay, I see you. I don't. The role swap has not slowed him down whatsoever, and the way they traded off as well, Orbital, was absolutely beautiful. They made sure they didn't get hit by that sort of brittle proc. The Frostbite didn't actually proc onto Ido, and it's not just the stun; it's also the additional burst of damage that comes through. So Ido was able to safely kite back, poke out damage the entire time, and when they were low enough, the hard commit. We talked about how the lane doesn't have a lot of safety. There are very few walls to be able to ride, like Ido is doing right there in the middle of the lane, and that goes both ways. Ashe has no escapes either, unfortunately, when you're that far pushed up.
This is going to be very, very fun to watch here. I mean, like, already UTM are kind of smashing our expectations here, right? Or I wouldn't say smashing, I want to see another one, mostly because I just want to see Ido with 5 kills and get like another double, like triple down there, go like 6-0. I love the fact that we are seeing a little bit of a shakeup, though. This identification that, hey, you know, this bot lane is one that we really do want to watch for. With DMK and Sword Blue actually now more evened out, or actually bottlenecked with how far they're allowed to push up, and Radar looking like they really don't want to advance because they have to taper, they have to take care of this top side of the map. I mean, UTM are putting themselves in a pretty nice spot. There's a reason they like some of this forward aggressive stances.
Yeah, all kills onto that big late game carry on your team. Meanwhile, Liver Suicide as well, taking away the Void Grubs while Luno and Topo are just kind of trading there. It does feel like UTM, at least laning wise, are very, very happy with the state of the game.
This is going to be one of those dives, though. Keep in mind, the ult comes up and Weaver will come in. This is what we expected a while ago. However, you at least trade one. A B is going to fall, but it was a price paid, right? Oh, 2! Oh, that's dub. That's a huge dub.
Okay.
Now Topo dead in the top side. His Lover's going to go down. Lovers goes down as well. So a 3 for 3 across the map. You know, everyone gets something on the map today.
And the biggest winner is probably Mint V in the mid lane, just quietly showing the lane, taking those plates. We are pre-14 minutes right now. So yeah, I'd love to see it. Both teams really being proactive and I love the fact too that it wasn't just Fisher making the play on the bot side. Top side had an answer ready to go. Mid now in a bit of trouble. Has flash.
Mm-hmm. And flash away only, I would say, because of those brittle procs. Was like, yo, I can't get tagged right now.
Yeah. If you get CC'd, you're just dead to rights, and Radar was just really trying to do that. So good call to be able to get out. Still has the teleport, by the way, as well. So you don't have the safety in lane from ganks quite as much anymore, but you can still trade very heavily, get the 1v1 advantage with that TP, and force Ralg to kind of match.
Mm-hmm. That being said, those hands checks are still... I'm still waiting, right, RMC? Like, that was some checking. But that was more checking of... where is everyone on the map? And the hands also failed under the weight of the towers, you know. All those plates make it pretty heavy. They hit pretty hard right now. Surprisingly enough, though, I would like to point out that topside dive by Lovers. Luna was not able to get much either out of it. I think that was only 2 plates, so it's actually matched across the board. Yep. So I'm very, very interested to see how much further this is going to continue, and if we are going to see some of those... more interesting, I wouldn't say force, but those attempts, right? Are they going to continue to roll in? Because now that puts in the back of your mind, hey, I'm not sure these dives are working out as well as we want. The fact that I got traded on the top side, you're like, whew, if you're Fisher Falcons.
Well, I don't know if Fisher Falcons are happy that they got traded, since they were the ones who kind of lost on the top side. Their bot side was a successful side. But overall, I do kind of agree. It feels like we're still waiting for the issue to drop. The teams did draft team fighting compositions after all, and we've actually not seen the full team fights. It's been a lot of laning. It's been a lot of sort of ganking to come through. And so till I see one team or the other win a comprehensive team fight, that goal lead that UTM have, that's really good. That's very indicative of sort of their early game plans that they had for this team. They've executed very, very well. Liver Suicide especially, you know, has been doing such a amazing job throughout this early game. But the Wukong Cyclone, as well as the sort of early strength that an Ashe has, could very quickly swing this come the mid game.
Mm-hmm. And that we still want to watch for. I mean, I'm also going to be keeping eyes on how quickly we see Mint-V force someone to buy a QSS. I think that's always one of my big indications of, you know, how a team's kind of doing, whether it is kind of that gold sink where a team's so far behind, but you just have to, right? Like, you can't not build QSS versus I have enough gold in the bank to literally drop, what is it, like, I think it's still 1600, 1600, just drop it in there, get the QSS and keep running with your build. Mint-V has not really needed to roam out just yet. We've seen activation from Fisher Falcons. Where does Mint-V decide to go? Now I gotta ask you that, because the Dragon's been taken, Grubs have been taken, Herald's coming up next. I mean, RMC, where do we want to see that movement come in?
I still think it's going to be Dragon focus between these two teams.
Still Dragon?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Mint-V goes wherever Lovers needs Mint-V.
Okay, that's fair.
Because yeah, I don't think this Malzahar is going to be making moves on their own very, very much. So far, Rog's been doing a really good job just in terms of matching shove, so there's no real kill threat from the Malzahar. We are technically back into game orbital, but we are getting a little bit of static as we're... Yeah, a little bit of technical difficulties. Hopefully that gets sorted, quickly. Yeah, I think, if anything, it's still the bot side focus to me. I think Void Grub and Herald, those are kind of fate in the current meta. Like, they're nice, they're good, but Dragon stacking is so much more impactful.
Yeah, and I think that always falls into 2 categories, right? I love actually talking about this, because when, let's go back, for those that are always interested, the Grubs actually came out, like, this year, and everyone was like, yo, we gotta fight for Grubs. That's a new topside. The thing is, there is no impact with the Grubs, it feels like, if you aren't actively pushing with them, right? Like, if you're not pushing, it comes into, like, mid to late when you're trying to clear towers, right? Like, you get a little extra damage, maybe you get 5 or anything. It does feel like a little bit of bait, depending if you commit so much and get so little out of it. It's why we start seeing these taperings of 1 and 2 taken, just to kind of, like, deny it from your opponent. I gotta agree, the Dragons are really where it's at. Next one coming up, I think, is going to be very fun as well. I wasn't able to catch which one it was exactly, but it is Chemtech. It is Chemtech right there. So we are going to wait and see. Right now, Lovers also opting to go to the spot side and look for a chance at just a straight lane through a dive. However, Official Falcons, I do believe, actually had a ward in that bottom side brush. So right now, still a little bit of that mixture, right? Everyone's still trying to figure out exactly where they want to go and what they want to grab to get that advantage, to start making this game actually snowball down that hill.
Oh, well, I need a word right now because I can't see what's happening on the roof. Every time we try to go back in, we're having some sort of tech difficulty. Unfortunately, yeah, we need to get ourselves a vision board. We need support in here
Yep.
to go get that. Overall, actually, you're talking about the grubs a little bit, and part of me thinks that somebody at Riot must be having a laugh with this, right? They literally call them void grubs. They are worms
Yep.
in the river. Of course they're bait. They're just fishing for reactions. Void grubs do feel a bit more like a win more button more than anything else right now. You're right. If you're not already winning or you're not comprehensively set up to split push, it does seem to be very difficult to leverage the advantage of the void grubs. And the Mights were in. Stun lands.
All right, listen, that pink ward let us know that this fight was breaking out on the bot side, and the V is annihilated, sprayed out of the hive. Now they're going to try and turn it around. It is going to be a dive in, and yes, you turn it around on one. Mint V was able to have a time, but how much more are you actually going to have? A question mark abound as this fight is looking for a second tangent here. Question marks are here, though, as Mint V has already used just about everything just to try and save lovers. You can see the HP bars on the side a little bit questionable, as Aito and Abi are just in trouble. So that bot side, I mean, even the bot side, like literally every time we're watching this bot side, someone is breaking the game, and I don't know who it is.
Bro, I don't know. Can we stop like teasing us like this? Like the fight's there. Let us finish here. Overall, okay. So what we did see was Sword Blue going down, of course, and honestly, as a Braum, as the sort of the tanky member in that bot side, if you go down to win that particular team fight, that's definitely worth it. And we were just talking about this before all the pauses and the technical difficulties came through. The fact that the Wukong is still incredibly strong right now, right? The fact that Radar can still turn these fights if he gets in there, compared to Livers, who at this point still hasn't completely skilled up yet, is still doing a lot of damage, but it's hard to actually get that damage versus the CC that an Ashe, a Braum, and even a Wukong, when they're all stacked together, Lilia doesn't get to move, and so Lilia doesn't get to put down damage.
Well, listen, with that taster, with that appetizer laid out in front of you, you gotta wait about 45 minutes for the main course. No, not that long. We are gonna try and fix this as soon as possible for you, and we are gonna get back on the rift for one of our most anticipated matchups here tonight. Fisher versus UTM will continue in just a bit. Alrighty, and we're getting right back into the action. Listen, we're hot dropping you into this battle because we got to see the whole thing from start to finish right now. In the backside, Lover Suicide is running away as fast as possible. Mint trying to drop a little bit of damage, but you're miles hard. There's another grass to come out, but the shove is going to land you as well. The stun is enough, and Relic throwing stones as hard as anything inside of a glass house. It is going to be a 3-for-1 in favor of Fisher Falcons.
And Orbital, just when the bot lane, just when DMK and Sword Blue were starting to struggle a little bit, the hero came from the mid lane. Rowlick and Radar both roaming down together. And Rowlick picks up a ton of kills in that exchange. I love to see it, one, because Rowlick is that magic damage carry, that sort of split alternative damage. And two, Rowlick with Weaver's Wall and Teleport can probably gank almost as much as Radar can.
I mean, that fight lasted so long, I forgot that B died as well. That was actually like a 4-for-1. Sure. I feel so bad now. B, your life matters, I promise. That is my bad. Taking a look at things, though, I do agree. Rowlick having a massive chance over here, and Mint B now in the mid lane, only one item deep. Now has to contend with a 1-2. Not only that, it's going to happen again. Welcome to the rinse and repeat section of the map. Level 2 wall as well means it crosses the entirety of the bot lane. B is now a sacrifice for this bot lane. That is the second death in less than a minute.
Ido had to burn both Flash and Ghost there. Rowlick using the TP to get back to mid lane. We were just talking about how much pressure Rowlick can put down. Immediately, he leverages that strength. They love to see it. And by the way, Rowlick's in a power drop right now, right? You've got Archangel Staff. Seraphs has not been completed yet, and you're already hitting this hard.
It feels so bad. And I mean, I gotta sit here and wonder, right, RMC, like, how explosive Fisher were. It gives me a lot of hope, right? We talked about the fact that Ido and a B were having a little bit of struggles in that bot side. Well, now it's kind of nullified, right? Or Ido and a B we're getting a little bit of advance. I'm so sorry. Dragon and Kim. Sword Blue now, 2-1-6 on that Ashe. Now, going ahead and grabbing that Chemtech Dragon, you can now start stacking Soul, which in my opinion is a Dragon and Soul that you will love forever. That is going to be Ido getting a nice old jump off, but you don't have anything. The Brittles are just too good. This is the bot lane we expected DMK and Sword Blue to have.
And topside UTM is looking to answer. They're setting up a dive with a Herald as well. But this is an Ornn versus a carry. It's not the same trade.
No, it's not. I mean, with the wave clear as well, yes, you'll get a tower, but Topo's like, yo, I did my job. You brought 3. You're taking so much time as well. You used the charge even to try and slam into the wall. A little bit of drifting around the map here as we are we going to answer in mid lane? Please try and answer in mid lane for whatever reasons. It's going. It's we'll keep. Oh my god. Oh, okay. You hop out. That feels bad. I think you were forced out. I lied. Yeah. Lovers now driving that Herald into the mid lane. We'll get a singular little wallop off.
So Blue gets caught in transition. No backup. Right there.
Yeah. Well, no, there's plenty on the bot side, just out of view as Radar says, yo, you can't do this. After minutes of peace, we now have action as a B. Third time in 2 minutes is going to die. In goes the Lilting Lullaby, though. You're able to grab the ADC, and now the follow-through. UTM's composition is starting to come online. Another slot to the back ahead, gives a shutdown to Mint V, and then the kill over to Ido onto Radar's life. The Radar is dark as we are tied at 12-12.
And for Fisher, the initial series of events was so good overall because this entire thing started with that bot lane fight where Fisher wins the fight 4-for-1. They get the dragon, they get first brick as well, and UTM answers on that top side. But that continues to cascade, and unfortunately in that mid lane fight for Fisher, it feels like they're fueling themselves a little bit too much. Sword Blue not going down immediately actually ends up baiting the entire team into that fight. And unfortunately, with Sword Blue low, with Topo dead, Radar, Rowlick, and DMK, none of them are tanks, and all of them are vulnerable to the lockdown that UTM can provide. So UTM able to answer and stabilize the game at the perfect moment. It felt like it was slipping away, but for now at least, it's dead even again.
And it feels great. Take a look. The itemization as well are in both teams' favor, right? Sometimes whenever we see these games where it's 12-12, we really have to take a look and say, who has the most kills? Who has the most gold? Fisher actually have a pretty nice split. 3 kills on Wukong, 5 kills onto the Talia, and then 3 onto the Ashe, who, by the way, Dragonman Kim was on the lower end prior to that bot lane fight. Now, another kill might be handed over to Radar's side if Luno is able to go down. However, with Magnar, you are safe. 1-0-4 in Luno's pocket. 173 CS, you're also starting to get a bully. All this gold is not centralized on one person, which to me makes this upcoming objective fights very, very entertaining.
Yeah, actually, funnily enough, as you can see, a lot of the gold advantages for Fisher, of course, well, as we can't see now, but as we could see earlier, Fisher's gold advantages are on their carries. They're on the right people. Whereas
Right.
for UTM, on one hand, Luno on the Gnar is a bit more of a carry, but the Gnar having gold is not as impactful as the Lilia or the Zeri having that gold.
Listen, as soon as the game gets interesting, it's going to get messy, it's going to get interesting, it's going to get fun. Okay, listen, Riot really likes us here, really enjoys us, and at the same time, the game is getting very exciting. So I want to double check. I think we might go to a little bit of a hesitation here with our faces. I mean, I know you love to see us. I know you love to see RMC. Now put in the chat, who do you think is better looking? Better be RMC or else things are going to go wrong very quickly. This game, it's crazy. The first time we had that pause, it was when all the action kicked off, and now we have an identification, a blow-up, I want to say, of about 15 kills at least in between those two sections. RMC, are you excited for the pace of this game, number one?
Yeah, this is what I was talking about, Orbital, earlier when I said that until I see the team fight, this game hasn't really started for me, right? Like, they dropped it for team fight. That's what we're waiting to see happen. In Orbital, we're hitting the stage of the game where they are going to be team fighting. If anything, I'm actually surprising that they're team fighting this hard because they're just going non-stop off cooldown timers sometimes. The outs aren't always available when they're looking to scrap. And now that everything's dead even, I think now we get a little bit of a pause as the teams reset, get their buys in, get their items in, wait for their outs to come back up, and then we'll be off to races again.
It's that breather. It's the 3-minute bell between, and Raleigh says, "Ain't no bell that I heard." Wall goes up, and no one's gonna be found. By the way, I was talking about the Nethergrass on Mint V, right? And as it's being used, Mint V. I said to use it, but not like this. Not like this, man. This is gonna be a problem. TP coming in from Rallick, and I think that might be Mint V's life. I'm pretty sure the shield is down as well, and I don't think you're gonna live any further. Looks like you actually got out. No, you did die. That's what I thought. That is gonna be Rallick and Topo saying, "Ain't no way you get away for that for free."
Oh, bro, I wish this collegiate. This feels like a high school league with how much censorship we're getting on the action right now.
I mean, yeah. Still though, again, we're seeing those little pieces now fall into place, and I actually want to point out the activation of Mint V in the mid lane shrine. You actually just saw what I feel is going to happen throughout the rest of the game, right? Attempts being made, but one feels better than the other, right? Rallick tried to ult in that bottom side. You use the Weaver's Wall. You almost didn't catch anyone. You can walk off. Mint V tries the same thing, wanders up, tries to get Topo, immediately gets killed. I mean, like, that feels like it's going to happen a few more times.
Yeah, and I think part of it's the nature of the engages from both of these, right? The Weaver's Wall, you can still walk away if it doesn't work. Nether's Grasp, you're stuck there with them. Both of you are locked down, and it's not meant to be used as a solo ultimate that much outside of lane. But Orbital, for now, as you can see, the tech problems are still persisting, and we are going to throw to another break, hopefully a quick one, while we try and get that sorted out on our end. Again, apologies for everyone, and please be patient as we sort through. But for now, break.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back here. We appreciate your patience throughout all of this. Listen, the wards needed to be laid down. We have them all across the map now, and hopefully for Game 2, we are lit up with the skies of the Rift. And I'm very, very excited because we do have identification. We are moving into Game number 2. Game 1 has concluded. So we'll just update you here. And I mean, from what we saw earlier on, it was very interesting. However, at the end of the day, Fisher Falcons came out with DMK leading with 11 kills on that Ash.
Yeah, the final score being 26-11 and just under 28 minutes coming through for that win from Fisher Falcons. Robert, I'm going to be real honest right now. I am so pent up and frustrated after watching that. We saw all the setup to the action. And then we hit the mid game where the action's supposed to start. And then, yeah, everything just kind of fell apart. So they were both teamfight compositions. I can only assume that Fisher just team fought better. And unfortunately for UTM, their comp didn't have a lot of alternative win conditions other than just winning those team fights.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, for UTM's side, they actually held pretty strong. You and I were discussing it. We think, or at least I thought very heavily, that on the bot side, it was, I believe it was Ido and Abi. Yep. Honestly, outside of the engages coming in from the Wukong and the Talia, in a static lane, in a neutral lane setup, they did a lot better than we thought.
Yeah, and one thing we kind of didn't talk about, but we have time now, is that UTM is actually a student-run club in the middle of a rebuild. I had a chance to speak to their coach, Matt, and he was saying that their former team, they had like 4 or 5 people working together behind the scenes on their support staff. This split, it's him plus some of their former players, like just kind of chipping in where they can and when they can, when time allows. So it's amazing what they've been able to do. They've also just promoted into Legends Division, as we mentioned at the start of the evening. And yeah, their laning phase overall looks solid. Not just Ido and Abi doing well, but Minfi was going perfectly even, as Malzahar will do. And Luno was actually kind of winning up in the top lane. And I think that's where a lot of Liver's sort of early pressure, his ability to get around, get those farm, get those objectives, was coming about from the fact that he had such stable lanes in the early game.
Mm-hmm. One of the end game stats was, I think, Lovers, who we did see get kind of into the mix, was holding pretty steady. I think 6-6-4, not a bad scoreline either. And on a Lilia, you like to see some of those kills coming through. Granted, for game number 2, I think it's already been identified, right? UTM understanding that, hey, things got a little bit messy. We held strong, but it wasn't strong enough. We needed to chain over from the early to that mid game. You need to start bringing that value. So would you actually want to see the same type of draft from the side of UTM? Because granted, they also have side selection for this game too as well.
True. They had it for game 1, and they opted for blue side. I don't think the draft is a problem necessarily, Orbital, for the side of UTM, but at the same time, I don't think that playing this same style is going to win you the game. Fisher Falcons have already shown you that they can team fight as well, or better than you can, at least in game 1. So if this is the idea that if both of you are just kind of playing rock, paper, scissors, and both of you are throwing rock, the bigger rock kind of wins. And unfortunately for them, Fisher Falcons had the Earthbender last game. Even if you take that away, though, I still think Fisher Falcons are just more experienced at this game style. So I'd rather see UTM throw me a curveball. If you're going to play team fight, pick different champions that will kind of catch me off guard. Maybe not the Malzahar, though that was a good attempt at kind of throwing a curveball. Or just pick something completely different. Maybe pick something that can split push more effectively for Luno rather than the Gnar. Pick something for Ido, Dan Xiaogu, the name he's running right now, which can just pop off in lane. Something like a Samira or a Draven, where the early pressure can really convert rather than still having to scale up to that late game like he had to on that Zeri.
Mm-hmm. And with how it did fall out, keep in mind that a B on the Nautilus also had a pretty nice early game showing, had some good hooks and everything. Do we want to see the Nautilus again as well? Or has it been identified that maybe a B goes for a little bit more, not so one-dimensional? You can still go blow for blow, but maybe something that has a little bit more versatility in there.
I'm okay with the Nautilus for Abi. I think Abi had some really good hooks with the Nautilus, and his final score ended up not being so great, but that's just a function of playing an engage tank. When you're winning, you look good. When you're losing, you look bad. So I'm okay with the Nautilus. Maybe not necessarily first pick, unless you're looking for counter picks specifically. We didn't really see that last game too much in terms of UTM trying to counter pick. But yeah, I'm okay with the pick. I think that's fine. And if anything, I think a lot of it depends just on side selection. If you are red side, then counter picks become more important. If you are blue side, then yeah, just bind it if you need just a nice safe pick.
Yeah, all right. Well, we have gotten identification that UTM are actually on the red side opting for that counter pick, so that does shift things up a little bit. We talked enough about UTM, though, because Fisher now actually get the option to first pick those items. Keep in mind, we saw the Smolder first ban for UTM's side. In that same
Okay.
vein, though, we saw the Graves, the Rel, and the Seraphine, I believe, come out as the first three bans. Do we still see those on the blue side as well, or do we actually see it shifted up for the Falcons?
The fun part for Fisher is they could potentially just open up the Seraphine and first pick it themselves. They are a team that has played that Seraphine in multiple roles. I can recall both support and AD carry role, as well as the mid lane. Could potentially flex it now with DMK, and I don't know if they necessarily play in the AD carry role, but I think mid and support are still fair game. But that's if you want to open it, or you can still
Right.
ban all three, and it's fine, right? There's nothing on UTM side where I'm looking at it going saying this is a must ban. Maybe if you want to open it up, you ban the Lilia instead, but the Malzahar was answered very effectively by that Talia. The Gnar really wasn't that big an issue for Topo. And even the Zeri, like, hey, that got answered by the Ashe really well as well.
So many little pieces that we sit there and go, man, like Fisher just, at the end of the day, it feels like they got everything they wanted, even though we sat there and was like, maybe it's not like the most like eye-catching items to us. It still felt very, very good. Now, let's say they did want to shift it up. Let's say they lost. I would say let's say they lose the Ashe, right? Let's throw out some hypotheticals here. If
Okay.
they lose the Ashe, which did feel like it was a very strong point of focus, it was R3. You had a pretty good idea. Do we see a shift of composition? Because if I'm banning anything on UTM's side, I'm banning that Ashe. I'm trying to target that bot side. I'm just trying to look at something to like put DMK on the back seat.
So here's the problem, Orbital. If you're familiar with Fisher, first of all, their coach, Drake, likes to cook. So I can never try and predict Fisher drafts because things get very, very weird. And then Topo, their top laner, has also coached teams, and he too can also cook. So I'm not going to try and guess what Fisher is going to do. I think their draft is a very responsive draft. I think that's always been one of their strengths, is seeing what the enemy team is doing and then answering and picking things that kind of mess that up. So to me, at any rate, I think the draft is going to be more dictated by what UTM want to do. The first pick, if Seraphine's open, maybe they go for that particular blind. If not, as you said, Smolder's on the table, Senna's on the table. If it doesn't get banned as well, those are both very safe picks. Maokai potentially, not just for the jungle support flex, because despite all the nerfs, Maokai is still incredibly strong. But Topo plays at top lane as well. So for this team, that Maokai three-way flex blind is amazing.
All right, well, there you go. Let's see if those flex picks come in here. Let's go ahead and get into the draft. You all have been waiting so patiently with us. And again, I would like to extend our warmest thanks if you're still here with us from the start to finish. Keep in mind, there is another series running after this one as well. That one will be quite fun to watch, hopefully. At least as fun as, or more so than this one. Fisher, though, with the first bans coming out here, as we discussed, they have a couple options on the table if they so wish. The Graves, the Rel, the Seraphine. If they wish to leave that Seraphine open for later, they can. Of course, on the other side, for UTM Phoenix, they're kind of up in the air, right? They're doing whatever they want to. They're deciding exactly how they want to play. And, I mean, if anything, there are a lot of pieces of Fisher Falcon's side that you could take away and then just expect some left field items to come out to you.
Okay, first ban, Graves coming out. Again, still paying respect to Livers. I think that's fair. Livers had a really, really solid game one coming through. And we mentioned before for Fisher as well, if there is a change, I expect it to be the Seraphine change-up. UTM Phoenix, I want to highlight one thing on the red side as well, is potential counterpicks to come through. Last game, they counterpicked the top lane. I don't know if they're going to continue doing that or whether they'll want to try and get Min to be a better matchup in the mid lane potentially, or even maybe save a jungle counter pick, because I do think the Lilia was quite effective into the Wukong, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was very powerful. Of course, right now, bans sticking the same. This is where that identification you were talking about, though, right? That Seraphine possible transfer, possibly left open to be used here if they do wish to start cooking. Of course, Seraphine, something that we didn't get to talk about, I think in the recent patch also got tweaked ever so slightly, right? A little bit of extension on some of the abilities. I think her passive got nerfed a little bit, but, it doesn't really matter. Seraphine not going to be seen here in this draft. Still, though, all 6 returning bans. But we do get a shift up, as we said. This is going to be the change. Fisher Falcons go with the Varus, and the Phoenix squad grabs the Wukong.
Okay, so they actually think that Radar was really, really effective with that Wukong, and we saw one of the few fights we saw, Radar was able to cause a lot of chaos, a lot of disruption with that Cyclone, so understandable UTM wants to take that away. But I do want to talk about the Varus a little bit more for DMK, because it is one of DMK's more played champions so far within the NECC, and the Hail of Blades build is still incredibly strong in lane. You can also run the Lethal Tempo still, of course, if you are looking for the scaling, but depending on what UTM pick, I feel like the Hail of Blades might be able to shut down Aito and Abi right from the get-go.
One of the big things that we talked about is Ido and be able to maintain an advantage, maintain just kind of that semblance of neutrality. And in this situation, there's no other way to do it. There it is, RMC. We talked about it. Ido said, look, if we're in game 2 threatening the series, let's go.
Yeah, you know what? I love it. I am a big fan of Draven. It's one of the things that drew me to CBLOL in Brazil because they were the first regions who were starting to play it internationally. Fisher, though, they are not perturbed whatsoever. They go back with that Talia for Rowlick, which had so much pressure. Let's not forget, Rowlick was 5-1-1 when we kind of glitched out of that game 1 there. So Rowlick, a great game on this pick. Didn't blind it last time, picked it into the Malzahar, but I'm struggling to think if Minfi actually has a hard count to it. Maybe you see the handshake way and the Poppy that they usually ban against Topo. Topo's slamming it early this time, and it is so good at trying to stop the aggression that a Wukong is normally looking for. If you try and dash in, well, there is the steadfast presence, and if you actually do get in, there's always Keeper's Verdict to yeet you back out.
And normally whenever I see both a Talia and a Poppy, I usually think it's actually overkill on denial tools. And in this sense, I don't think so, right? Topo has played an acceptable Poppy. A good way to deal with that, though, UTM say, yo, if you stop us from dashing in, we'll just bring you to us, the Blitzcrank. This bot lane is full on the gamble. They're going all in, whether you like it or not. I love it. And now you get to deny some other pieces of the puzzle. Varus not going to get that Braum to shield you anymore.
Yeah, and I was thinking, what do you pick into this Alistar, right? This lane is into this, this Blitzcrank and Draven. I was thinking maybe Alistar, but no, he's too squishy too. He'll get absolutely run over by Draven, and one of the best picks would have been the Braum. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Leona ban potentially to come through as well, because I feel like she's one of the tankier early game supports you could try and run into the likes of a Draven. But overall, yeah, this bot lane already looks so difficult for Fisher to play through. And I do think they needed the tank, besides Topo, in the mid to late game as well, to be able to soak and block these Blitzcrank hooks.
And there's that ban, right? You talked about it back in the earlier draft, saying that the Maokai could be an option, right? You can flex it. At this point, though, it would obviously go probably into that bottom lane, into Sword Blue, which, again, Maokai is not exactly the tankiest, but it can build tank, right? Still gotta agree. There are some options that are a little bit questionable, and for Fisher Falcons, they actually say they're going to ban Morgana. So sending it over onto UTM's side saying, yo, listen, you don't get freedom as much as you might wish. Let's go ahead and take it away. The Rumble as well that we didn't really touch on. It is a nice tool against the Poppy on the top side, but it won't be played here.
Yeah, and I think Rumble is well very effective. It's fairly low mobility composition so far from Falcon. Nobody's really got too many dashes. I mean, Poppy's got a mini dash, but she's not really who you're Rumble ulting anyway. So I like that takeaway. The Morgana, another sort of pocket champion that Minfi actually plays, and especially if your Draven starts to get ahead, having the Black Shield to allow the Draven to continue running rampant is a massive issue. So I like the bans coming through from Fisher Falcon. We kind of talked about the Maokai. I do want to go back to the point that I think Fisher's actually looking for the support and jungle right now. So I suspect that Maokai ban a little bit more targeted at the jungle position on radar. And I'd actually love to see a Sejuani for Fisher here, whereas UTM, they're still looking for solo laners. And yeah, I'm not 100. Like, it's probably going to be a Poppy. I'm just going to think what you'd run into the Poppy. Like, Gragas probably wouldn't be great for this. Renekton and Aatrox would struggle too. Do you just go back to the Gnar?
That's actually what I was leaning towards too. You got the range to deal with it, and you're just kind of eating up the fact that in mid to late you might have to play a little bit more carefully entering into these fights. And I mean, I wouldn't take a chance here of going something non-comfortable, right? You could opt to go a tank for tank matchup, but that wouldn't be Luno's style either. We talked about Luno being kind of a little bit more aggressive, being more in your face, trying to get a little bit more value, but with the Poppy lock-in, you didn't have to ban out the Aatrox, you didn't have to ban out anything of the sort, and it looks like they're gonna go with the all-important 128th champion that we don't know about just yet. Actually, what is it? What are we on? Like 150 some? I don't know. I lost track after
I don't know the exact number though.
Yeah, I've lost it. I'm gone. But the Vi to come in here, Fisher answering back. If it's a punch for punch that you want, that is gonna be it.
Okay, we do have word that the sort of missing pick there from UTM is Aatrox for Luno. So I think that fits a bit more into the wheelhouse. It's good paired with the Wukong as well in terms of later team fights. You've got the Cyclone to knock up and set up for the Aatrox. But the laning into Poppy can be a little difficult at times. And the Steadfast presence especially is going to be a menace. Fisher Falcons, though, I like the Vi pickup. As you were kind of talking about Orbital, I think it's a great way to lock down that huge threat that is a Draven, and without that Black Shield, because it got banned, the Morgana is not there, there is really no effective way for you to protect this Draven.
And I feel bad. I mean, Luna going, yo, it's not going to stop me if it's open, but hey, double Vigar, yeah! Let's go! I will take that all day long. It is in, baby. It is in. Double Vigar all day long. New meta, new strat. That is all we're going to talk about here. Actually, I do want to get confirmation. Is that actually Vigar coming in here for Phoenix? I mean, it would make sense. Right? If you take a look down the line, if you are looking for a denial tool, this is a great way. Yes, Vigar! Okay, it's only one Vigar, but, you know, Nico could be under there for all we know. No, it is Aatrox paired with the Wukong, the Vigar, the Draven, and the Blitzcrank.
Yeah, and the Vigar is something Mint V plays, so it's not that far out. Mint V's got a very odd pool, as we've kind of touched on before. And actually, I'm going to be honest with that. I was expecting Luno to play maybe something a little bit less standard as well, because I was told Luno does have a lot of interesting answers to the meta. Unfortunately, this series, we've not seen it so far, and this game won't be it either. So UTM, just a very... Their composition evolved, right? Like, they started with that sort of Draven Blitzcrank bot lane sort of focus in terms of trying to output the damage, but then they kind of pivoted towards the Vigar plushie.
No! My producer didn't want to. Yeah! All right. Sorry, I had to do that. Listen, I love Vigar. Anyone that knows me loves Vigar. Keep going, RC, though. I had to do that.
Well, let's talk about the Vigar, because the Vigar is Aatrox now, right? That is a very strong teamfight core that they've managed to drop for themselves. So I really like what UTM have done. They're still going with that teamfight idea, but instead of the spice they brought this time is going to be that bot lane. And I do think that considering what I2 and a B managed to accomplish in game one, it makes a lot of sense. Give them something that can snowball very, very quickly, can take over, and maybe that's the extra push you need to get you over that hump in the mid-game teamfights.
And if that is able to kind of branch or connect that value that we saw before, remember, UTM had one of the better stalling early games. Like, it was very, very just, we can kind of ride this wave, we can deal with this. I'm interested to see what Fisher actually throw down. This other composition on the side, you talked about it, right? Fisher loved to kind of, how do we deal with you? How are we actually going to kind of pick you apart as we see the champions come through? I love the Talia and the Poppy. That is something that even at the beginning, I was like, I really do like this. I think it might be overkill, but if it's Topo's Poppy, I'm chill with it. No worries all the way through. The Nautilus, I think at the very end, though, I will always say this. I love whenever a player, and I understand where it fits in the composition. Don't get me wrong. I always love whenever we see a champion come out that was picked up on the other side for one game that comes out, because it does feel like a little bit of a slap, because we talked about it, right? A B and Sword Blue. We felt like the bot lane had a lot of emphasis. It was a lot of fun to watch those two, and now I'm curious to see how the Nautilus goes in game two.
Yeah, it is a bit of a risky pick, I feel like, for Sword Blue to pick this one as well. Normally, I'm not worried for the Nautilus into a Blitzcrank too much, but because of the Draven specifically and the Varus, Varus' early game oppression often comes from his ability to poke and the quick burst of damage he can do with the Hail of Blades. But even that can't match up to a Draven. And sure, Nautilus might actually be normally a great pick into the Blitzcrank. You are tanky enough to survive. You've got tons of CC. You can trade back. It's a free engage. I will say that with the Draven, that changes. And now this Nautilus actually becomes rather squishy. So eyes on this bot lane. How is Sword Blue going to play this? Is DMK going to actually move away from that early pressure and go for the lethal tempo instead? Because the comp is still really good front to back later on for Fisher.
Alrighty, well, we are underway with this game, and I'm very, very excited to see what can be brought about. I know I was super excited. That is not the best Vigar skin, by the way. I want to see Bad Santa Vigar. I want to see B, what is it, Vigar B. There are so many little pieces. But let's go ahead and get into it. As we said, battle lines are being drawn here, and for UTM, this, was that a ward over the... Okay, so it was. Is that... I forgot they changed that, right? That was a while ago, but now you can actually drop it over that wall. That's always fun to see.
I don't think...
Nope, I lied. That's not a ward. I lied. That's Fisher's ward. I'm a little bit slow today. I apologize.
Yeah, I think Midview is just kind of fishing for the stack. If you can land that Baleful Strike, hey, why not, right? Free one extra AP. I like the idea. You don't lose anything for it. Though, with the Blitzcrank on your side, I do feel like it's not as common to catch teams there. Well, maybe they 5-stacked, and that was... Yeah, it's non-committal. They don't lose anything for it. I like the idea from UTM.
course, just a very quiet start once again. No one getting too much information, but I would say much more defensive warning from UTM. They didn't have to invade. They didn't have to get that early vision down. So it's just, okay, we'll play it smart. We'll just get our farm going as well as we need. On the flip, though, this is going to be another interesting part that I would like to see, right, is this hook here, right? Sword Blue getting hooked in and trading a little bit back, but do they actually, like, why would you wouldn't have to full commit, no worries. Ido, though, eating up that Ignite and feeling okay.
Yeah, and for DMK and Sword Blue, that's going to happen eventually, sooner or later. It unfortunately happened a little bit sooner, and Sword Blue actually getting chunked is a little bit dangerous, because you can see if it happens again, oh, they engage the level 2.
Yep, that's that hook landing, and Ido and a B, level 1, not enjoying this game right now.
It's fine, they're fine. That was just a level 2 spike. I appreciate that from Fisher, and I think that's why they were playing so aggressively. Once they get that spike, well, they immediately used it to maximal effect. If you can set Draven and Blitzcrank low, it kind of cuts both ways. Now, I expect to see junglers actually being called down for both these teams. Fisher to accelerate this advantage, and Lover to try and equalize it.
How long are you going to spend, though? Lover's kind of hanging off to the edge. Said, okay, maybe I can't do too much. Oh, reactivating. Lover's finally saying, let's go for it. That's going to be a flash forward, and they do hook in Sword Blue. Dragon, then Kim, though, ghosting and flashing away. Instead, it's going to be Sword Blue on the chopping block. Flash away again, but it's enough to deny. So first gank, you do draw just about every summoner spell in the book. But on the top side, Topo might get a free kill. Pin against the wall. No chance in the world. Luno, after losing one trade, gets killed.
Okay, part of me wants to go, well, that's a Topo diff and Poppy. But to be honest, Luno just basing in an unfortunate position there. You thought you were safe in your own bush, inside your own turret, but Topo is just putting so much aggression up there. Look at that CS differential already forming there. That is a Topo diff on Poppy. That's why Topo gets Poppy banned half the time against him.
And it's one that, you know, for UTM said maybe we can get a buy into the second draft phase like we did last time, right? They were able to skate it by. It was, I think, band 5 actually on their blue side. This time around, Topo's like, yo, I should have more respect on my name, and it's going to continue, right? Luno on this Aatrox came back with the longsword. Still has the pot, by the way. Didn't burn flash or anything. So if anything, Topo's chilling in this top lane. No real worries as long as you don't get hit by most of the abilities.
Yeah, and for UTM, they are looking for the gank into the mid lane. I was going to say, for this top side right now, oh, great ward.
Okay.
If Topo applies all this pressure and doesn't need Radar to come up top, that's bad for UTM, because now the Vi can go to mid, can go to bot lane, and both of them are somewhat vulnerable to this Vi. That cleanse is not going to do anything for Ido against the Vi specifically. And also, just point and click CC lockdown. That's what Draven's scared of, right? If you can't pick up those axes, you lose a lot of your damage.
Not just that, not only do you lose the damage, you start losing the ability to kind of contest back and forth. You can see it there, a B getting hooked out and chunked out ever so slightly. Right, Dragon Kim doesn't want to step up too far, but with Radar there, it was a little bit of a challenge. Actually spinning out there, it's a bar to be had. Sword Blue. We talked about this Nautilus, you know, may or may not have a good time. It's having a fantastic time throwing out hooks pretty much off cooldown.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm a bit surprised that Sword Blue isn't lower in health, and because you've got that minion wave pushing with you, Orbital, Ido and Abi are rightfully not wanting to opt into any extended trades, so because of that, they are focusing DMK a lot more when we see these 2v2 engages come through. Both junglers on the top side of the map, so the continued isolation in this bot lane right now.
I wish Ido had flash or cleanse or something. That would have been so funny. That would have been... that's the fun part of Hextech Flash, by the way. It's just very, very silly. You pointed out rightly that Radar is on the top side, got all 3 gubs, by the way, and B missing a hook on their own end. Instead gets drawn in to this fight. Is going to get a knock up here as the axes are dropped, so Ido going to have to rank those back up. Still, though, we are seeing these challenges a lot more spicy than in game number 1. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah. And partially, I think, because Ido and Abi have a more aggressive lane this time. They don't have to play on the back foot, and that's why. And we're seeing the confidence of DMK and Sword Blue as well to continue doing that in the top lane. Topo is low on health, but is winning trades. And I don't know how Topo got so low.
It's something. Of course, the trade on the bot side is not going their way. Sword Blue with a third hook, and a kill is going to grab it. Ralik now in the mid lane, going to wait, but the Primordial Burst is just too good. That's the buff that we wanted in this patch. That is the buff to Vygar.
Top is coming?
Yeah, Topo's trying, but it was just there to wave hello.
I was actually wondering if you could get there fast enough, set plus presence, flash, and actually pin somebody against the wall.
Oh, yeah. It was too far away. I was like, there's no way that's going to happen, right?
I have suspended all disbelief when it comes to topless Poppy. It does things
Okay, that's fair.
Poppy shouldn't be able to do. But let's talk about this bot side, because it's huge that Sword Blue and DMK found that early kill. Granted, it's not an idol, so the stacks are still accruing for this Draven, but being able to threaten them and actually win the 2v2 is massive. And we said it before, if Nautilus falls behind, he really struggles. Sword Blue did not fall behind.
And it's actually that double-edged sword that we talked about, right? Blitzcrank is pretty much in the same boat as Nautilus, right? If a Blitzcrank falls behind and you're not able to get proactive hooks down from angles that you want, it doesn't actually feel good to land those hooks. It doesn't feel good to play a Blitzcrank. So I'm very curious to watch how this bot lane continues to expand out. Right now, it is pretty well in favor of DMK and Sword Blue. And the top side, though, Topo pushing in this way. We talked about, you were mentioning, Topo having a decent HP lead, even though they were lower, but the trade's going their way. CS lead in their favor. That's about 18 as Dragon is currently being pinged out. I was talking about this top side, and we're seeing why. This Bush Wookiee action here. Luno is not enjoying it at any stretch of the imagination, but now landing some of the abilities, not even in World Ender form. Topo doesn't burn Flash and just says, yo, I'll walk my way out.
It doesn't burn Keeper's Verdict either. Holding that one didn't feel like you needed the stun. Now, keep in mind, because of how well Topo has been doing, Radar's not in the area, so Topo will not get any relief anytime soon, does not have TP available, has to be able to hold this wave. Meanwhile, Fisher, as we were talking about, Radar's not there, did manage to pick up Dragon. So that's all 3 Void Grubs so far, plus Dragon going the way of Fisher.
And with that setup, that is a heavy-handed macro-centric style for Fisher. Well, I wouldn't say macro style, but they've just been focusing on it so heavily. And it's nice to see, right? This is going to put pressure on UTM now, questioning if they want to go for those grubs, try and deny those 2 away, because Lovers, having picked up this Wukong from game number 1, hasn't really seen as much value as before. Right now, granted, we're still waiting for a little bit of time, but now you try and make your presence known again. Ralik seeing that step out of the bush, immediate pings go down, and Lovers may or may not try and stay. I mean, I don't know how much time you want to burn here.
Yeah, and if Ralik gets caught, that's on Ralik. He should know better. No flash available. Page does come down.
Yeah, I mean, it's that ghost easy pickup. I mean, I was wondering at the same time, Mint V has the easy outplay button.
Yep. And again, Ralik knew that the risk of that was there, and the fact that they can 100 to 0 just means that Ralik basically just has to sit in the turret and not ever step up in those sort of situations. Sword Blue baiting a little bit because Radar's nearby.
Very nice. That shower does well as the Chain of Corruption come out here. That Idol can't really compete because of that. Radar gets a free pin, and that's going to be the second chain. Lovers is caught and pays for the sins. It is going to be a kill. Granted over. Mint V now, though, comes down with another Event Horizon, trying to set up, and look at the damage, though. It's very minimal, so the Radar gets to go out. Sword Blue going to try and turn it around, and Dragon Man Kim comes in. That's a kill number 1. Axe spins through, though, and do you get a double? No, you don't. However, Mint V is able to grab their 2 of their own. This value is huge, as it's a double for Mint V, 4 for the Vygar, 1, though, for the Draven before they pass.
And normally with a Vygar Orbital, the moment the big ult's down, you play around that and you keep trying to punish, but Mint V, the cooldowns were low enough. Okay, Luno taking a bit of a beating. Topo won't be able to proxy against that. But the fact that Mint V actually was able to pump out so much damage consistently with the Q, and is now 4-0-1, changes the nature of this game.
And now, because of the mid lane gank, it's actually allowing another kill to come through, but Topo, even the score up on the top side, that's just Topo things.
Yeah. I mean, we just saw Topo trying to proxy in that situation, and Luno, there's not a lot you can do. You can't even really base in that sort of situation, so Topo doing Topo things, and Topo will have to do more Topo things to help Fisher get back into it, because the rest of the map has kind of exploded, not necessarily in their favor.
Sword Blue now doing a little bit of cheeky business as everyone's starting to get a piece of the action here. Flash over the Event Horizon will mean Dragon Man Kim picks it up, and it's an easy flyby for this bottom lane of Fisher. Now top side, Topo might be eating a bit of damage in their own. 3 are now on the top side. Luno says, yo,
so much
please
time.
help me out here. But Topo's just too tanky. Take a
not
look,
even
Radar's
close.
coming in here, and Topo might just be able to hang on. Are they actually going to fully fight? Yes, they are. In they dash. Into the wall you go. Lover Suicide not able. You got to hang on, and that's going to go. Rollick now joining in. Yes, you might have gotten Topo, but how many more are you going to lose? Radar has another flash in and gets the kill. Rollick with the pickup on a B. Luno in the world ender, but their world might be ending. Actions from downtown aren't going to land. The stone flung, though, draw their death. Radar living through the whirling axes as Ido can't find anything. Fisher getting so much on the board. Cross map, if you will.
And UTM just walked into the wrong neighborhood. We were just talking about how strong Topo was, man.
Really?
Oh, man, no.
Mint tried to ghost to get to that farm and got annihilated for it. Now comes round number 2. Dragonman Kim doesn't have flash. Keep that in mind. And it looks like Sword Blue might be the sacrifice. Dragonman Kim with red buff is able to slow people down. But there it is. Sword Blue is going to pass. They're going to give it over to Ido, I think.
You're going to try.
I think they got
Blue,
it, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sword Blue was trying to run, and I was wondering if
really?
he would be able to execute.
All right, there it is.
Oh, he got it. Yeah, yeah.
No!
wait.
No! Sword Blue! Sword Blue, no! Sword Blue, no! Is this gonna happen?
Wait,
Are you actually gonna get out?
there.
Are you actually going to survive? Oh my god! The send friend presence! The keep the president alive! The support is able to survive! Oh no! Relic might not though! The danger has been had! Sword Blue plates the entirety of their team! Relic is going to fall, but Sword Blue lives! That's all that matters!
Saving Private Sword Blue. They threw everything, and Fisher gets him out. But at what cost? A good support is supposed to die for his carries. Relic paid for Sword Blue's sins to get them out. They did, however, also kind of waste a lot of time. So Fisher's actually able to reset. So it's not the end of the world losing Relic there.
I'm not gonna lie, that was great. Like, we were watching, we were like, Sword Blue's gonna fall. That's no problem, but because of that exchange, Topo in the mid lane, Burn Keeper's Verdict doesn't have as much HP. They're actually looking to try and turn this into a fight, but Topo is actually going to take the exchange into the tower range and realizes that things are a little bit dire. Does have flash available, so able to flash away and stay safe. And Luno's still going to go under the tower. Primordial Burst comes out, but he's still alive ever so barely. So Luno can't get the kill. Is Topo going to live now? Is Topo going to survive? It looks like it's so. And now in the bot lane, Ido is not going to enjoy this one. Sword Blue has everything. Death Charge will be up in a few seconds. Ignite is available as well. And look, the axes almost are healing Sword Blue here. Final piercing arrow comes through. Sword Blue gets it with the Depth Charge. Dragon goes the way of Fisher. What can't they do?
I don't know, it feels like everything is just coming off Topo's back right now for Fisher. This series of plays is because UTM committed so much into that topside dive, and the fact that Topo didn't go down still absolutely boggles my mind. We saw a B running after, sprinting after, with flash available, and still couldn't take down this Poppy. They are spending so much time doing this.
I mean, honestly, I'm wholly impressed by Fisher right now. They identified that they have some winning conditions. They played to it. Sword Blue and DMK also proving some stuff here. That's going to be a hook under the tower as the price is paid, but look at that. It was a bait again as Sword Blue lives once again. Radar might not be so lucky, though, as they do fall. Tower is going to fall as well, but a small price to pay. Huge dub by Fisher. Sword Blue, that's all that matters now. I'm keeping track of how many times Sword Blue is living in situations that he should not.
Fair enough. I mean, it's not necessarily normally the best indicator of which team's winning, but hey, for Fisher, it kind of is because of all the attention and pressure that it's drawn away. Now, I do want to highlight Radar for Ito trade. Also, again, favorable for the side of Fisher. You're stopping the Draven from stacking. You're cutting his stacks. And unfortunately for Ito right now, 1, 3, and 4, this was not where you hoped to be as a Draven, especially after how well Ito and B did in game 1.
Another pin against the wall, and Luno is just in a world of pain. This blind pick Poppy into Aatrox counter pick is not working out, and right now 1 in 4 not allowed to play top lane. Lover Suicide is going to try and help out clear out the top lane as well, but it's just like Topo's just a behemoth at this point.
Yeah, and unless I see Mint V there, like I don't think you kill Topo even under this turret.
Yeah.
Look at Topo, he goes back under turret.
Yeah, like Radar's coming up.
Where's he going?
It looks like the death might. No, the shield's
went for
still
the
up.
shield.
Oh my god. Don't. No. No. There you go. Listen, you died for that kill. You die for that kill and send a message. That's going to be a hook under tower as well as the just use. It's a 2-piece. And Dragon Kim is on a rampage.
And that's it, right? UTM won. They killed the raid boss. That's what this is,
Yep.
right? It was just a raid in a it's a boss raid. Although this is
Yep.
not Summoner's Rift. They do take down Topo, but I didn't even check. Did Topo have a bounty?
No, I don't think so. I think at max it would have been like 150 to 300. I don't think it would have been massive. It's just this game is getting out of control. Even Luno here is waiting for a little bit of help. Meanwhile, it's going to be the Draven that's killed. You might get 180C, but the other is going to fall. Under the tower you go as Radar gets one final slap. Dragon Kim is 1v2ing. Are you kidding me? Don't do it to him like this. Look at the spacing. Look at the autos. The moves. The orb marking is just too real.
Okay, Fish are in the zone. They're feeling themselves. They
Yep.
know they're good right now. These sort of plays are insane, bro. I thought they were setting up a bait using DMK in the top side, but no. Oh, wow. That was so incredibly close. DMK was like, no, I don't need you guys here to bait. I will bait them. I will be the hook, and I will be the fisherman. I will catch them. Hook, line, and sinker, and that allowed them to find Ido again. Now 1, 4, and 4. Yeah, Fisher have completely taken over the game, Orbital, and this was supposed to be team fights coming through. It's not going to be team fights. If UTM shows up, they're just dead.
And it hurts, right? If you are UTM, you did try. I give them a lot of credit. They did try. They got a Blitzcrank, they got a Draven, they have a Wukong. Like, they knew this game was going to be tough, and they leaned into it. This bot lane is one that is almost coin flip, right? If the Draven gets ahead, it's great. If the Blitzcrank gets ahead, you can roam out and get some kills. Mint V has not really been allowed to be unlocked either. There's been attempts, right? 5, 2, and 1, very strong. But just UTM, I gotta agree, they're gonna get slaughtered moving in, and especially with this third dragon coming up, I don't know if that is the point you want to die on right now.
Yeah, and I think for UTM right now, if they want to try and get back to the game, it's about the Blitzcrank hooks, and you need both Draven and Vygar there. You need enough burst to take out the single target that UTM picks. And the problem is, they can't pick Topo.
Nope. They can't pick Topo because Topo's just wrecking lovers right now. That is... Why did Rollick have to TP? There was zero reason to TP in Rollick.
Hey, why not? You gotta push a little bit faster. Dragon's coming up as well, and you've still got Weaver's Wall, because that is still Talia, so it doesn't even matter that we see the TP being burnt down. Fisher grouping up, but look who isn't grouped up with the team. Although normally, this would be super weird, but we literally just witnessed DMK go in 1v2.
This is just nasty. Right now, Dragon will be picked up here, will be soul point for Fisher, and for UTM, they are relegated to try and get Dragon Kim. Sword Blue, though, is there to help out, and that's going to be a Chain of Corruption use hook just out of range as B drop down to about 30%.
Yeah.
Oh, no. 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 Event Horizon going to slow him down. Maybe this is a chance to turn it around. Axes come out, but World's not to death. It's enough for the Keeper's verdict to be shown. It looks like it's going to be held. Rollick, though, on the flip side. Luno, not really going to enjoy this one. Flash away. A final Q is going to land. Rollick flashes in the other direction, though, and lives. Are you kidding me? Fisher are literally living on slivers of HP. That is now the 5th time the team has done so. Mint V not going to be as lucky. Ain't no flash available. Yes, you actually do, but I mean, you're a Vygar. There ain't much you can do in this situation. Sword Blue trying to finish off Luna, dodges the hook and just says, no skin off my back. Mid lane, though, is going to fall in UTM's favor. Herald is able to get a little bit of gold back for this UTM roster.
That's actually huge for UTM, that they only lost Mint V in that exchange. Luno gets out. They get both turrets, but can Ido survive? Radar on the hunt.
Oh boy, let's see it. How far do you go? Left, right, up, down? Nope, not a chance in the world. Radar on a killing spree. Lovers now in between a rock and a hard place, and on top of rocks and a hard place as well. This is going to be death. And I mean, after that, Baron's available. Why not? Fisher, it's time to go ahead and collect everything on the Rift.
Livers suicide usually refers to double suicide overall, but unfortunately it ain't Valentine's Day and Livers went down all alone. No smite available. Fisher picking this one up nice and easy, and the only turrets left, well, there's still the mid in, but that's on living on a hope and prayer. Beyond that, it's in his, and beyond that, Nexus.
At that point, that's just steps 1, 2, and 3. This kill is just a little bit of a piece of the pie. Luno will go down 40 seconds on their life. Fisher don't even feel like they have to recall, right? Like, take a look at these squads. Their itemization is already pretty much set to go. They're just going to push. Toppo's already on the top side. Like, yo, let's go. Which inhib are we going to take first?
Yes, all of them. Orbital, why not?
Yeah.
A level down from Rowlick right now, and a little bit behind in items as well. I'm still a bit scared for Rowlick. There's better burst on the Vigar, and Sword Bruce is behind turrets.
Yeah, that's a rough one, as I think that might be a signal to us. We are out. Nocturne has joined the game. Life is a little bit hard for us, but I can hear it. That's going to be a cleanse coming out here. That was Aito hoping to stay alive, but I don't think it's going to work. Death comes through, and it's a double kill for Dragonman Kim. It is going to be Fisher bursting straight through the front door.
Mid-V back in base. Can they hold it? Looks like Fisher actually not gonna go right for the juggler. Instead, they're playing this by the books. Instead, they want to take as many inhibs as they can. Rowlick also split pushing on the bot side.
This is going to be a little bit troublesome here. Only a little bit for UTM, right? I like to say that word, and it's just like, oh boy. This is going to be UTM final little moments here. They're going to clear out some wards. They now have, you know, in that small piece, a little bit of extra minions wandering into the base, but I love this, right? Like, they're looking for a hook. Toppo's literally standing front and center like, try me.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, does Toppo know there's a ward there? Because I think Fisher, I couldn't recall if Fisher actually had the ward down before UTM got it, but Toppo was baiting with his body, right? We said before, a B cannot hook Toppo. Anybody else, it's fine. Hook Toppo, and you just cause an engage. Minfi with the ghost still hunting. Oh my goodness.
Rowlick has been the only one that it feels like UTM are able to kill. It's still given over to the side of Mitten V. At this point, I actually would agree with trying to feed it into Ido, even though you don't really have a whole lot of gold stack. Toppo's like, yo, you can try all you want. It's really not going to work because this is going to be the revenge killing Rowlick. Says, yo, I went down, my team's got me instead. That will be a final punch. Legendary on the Dragonman Kim. And that'll be the minion saying, please end if we can.
Yeah, B still on a wild goose chase with Toppo in the back. And it's only Luno left in base trying to defend this. But you're a lethality Aatrox. You have no tanky stats.
Nope, you are going to die very quickly. That 2.1 HP stat is very much gone. You're going to try and jump in. A little bit of punch to the back of the head. Dragonman Kim says, yo, where'd you go? World Ender, world ended. It is going to be a legendary fight. Fisher Falcons show up and show big. They are in the zone. They are riding high on the wave, surfing on stones. It looks like they're going to try and pad the KD8 a little bit more here. Rowlick on the far side, throwing stones. The Dragonman Kim watching their jungle on the side. No! Radar lives again! Rowlick? Stop doing this to me! Rowlick! That's a kill! Rowlick wins out the 1v1, clotheslining the last two, and Fisher at 34 and 12. Finish at 24.5 minutes.
What a way to end the game as well. For a second, I was thinking, they're not padding the stats overall. They just can't end. But I'm sorry. You were right. At the end, they just baited them out of the fountain and absolutely took them for a ride. Fisher Falcons, this is why they're such a well-known team. The experience, the veterancy certainly showing through. Game one just felt like a warm-up to them.
And at this point, it is a warm-up also for the night because we don't want to waste any more of your time. There's another series coming up here in just a little bit. It is going to be GVU versus UCI, another Legends Division game. Of course, that'll be cast by Yanni and Shibi here at the NECC. So, of course, RMC, any final thoughts here about this series?
I want to give a shout out to UTM and how they played as well. That game two looks really bad for them because of the composition they ran, which is a snowball composition. I still think they are a really good team, and I think game one, they showed that. They were very competitive in the early game. Game two, composition wasn't bad. It's just a snowball comp, which looks good or horrific. One or the other. Shout out to them and hope that they continue to perform as well. I expect to see them in the playoffs, and considering their trajectory so far, Orbital, I think they'll be better, even better, the next time we see them here on the stream.
Of course, let's go ahead, throw it to a short break. You'll see some new faces here as well as some new teams. And of course, the NECC League of Legends Week will continue here in just a bit.
What's going on, everybody? Shibby's looking sad. I'm looking pretty sad. We're pretty depressed. We got a late start. Unfortunately, we have no follow-up to the Fisher Falcons game where they look pretty good because Grandview are unable to field a roster, so it will be an FF. UCI will be granted the victory. I actually need Prod's help. How does this affect the standings? Because I think UCI needed a 2-0. I don't. Yeah.
Hello.
Let's
Hot mic.
I'm hot miking on the stream.
God, Dad, you back?
UCI win the group. That's all it is.
thank you.
So you
Mysterious
okay,
voice.
UCI win the
Thank
group.
you, NECC God. Yeah. So UCI does win the group. It's a shame. I had pretty high expectations for this matchup, and you don't get to talk about how good Grandview's been in the MEC.
I know. I mean, hey, spring break. I get it. You're probably back in your parents' place.
Spring break claims another.
Spring break claims another C-lull match here. So, unfortunately, at GVU, they're not able to fill the roster. 2-0 for UC Irvine. They're going to take the group. Playoffs are going to look pretty interesting. We're probably, obviously, going to cast that.
Oh, yeah.
Assuming
Next week.
we can get rosters together. That'll be next week. Hopefully, you guys tune in, and I don't think we'll have any problems for playoffs. I think every team will be back in their facilities.
We better hope there's not any problems for playoffs. And we're also going to hope that there's no problems for tomorrow because there is Overwatch 2 action tomorrow that you're not going to want to miss out on. Bullskong Chef Billy, 2 Tryhard Ray, giving you all the action. A lot of games going on tomorrow night, so we hope that you enjoy those. Unfortunately, sorry for no League of Legends action. You don't get your weekly dose of Yanni and Chibi, but too much of us is a bad thing. Just ask Rare. Adam, that'll be it for us here tonight. Thank you all for hanging by. Sorry about that. Hope you enjoyed the prior match. We hope to see you tomorrow for some Overwatch 2 action.